Hey guys, Dry Socket here, and today we're going to revisit the Stoeger 12 gauge coach gun. I have a video out where I talk about how for this particular gun, one of the things that is frustrating for Cowboy Action is that when you break the barrel, it resets your triggers, good, should do that, but also resets your safety. And for Cowboy Action, that can put you in a position where you pull the trigger, no bang happens, and you have to go back, turn that safety off, and then fire. So I mentioned that it's very easy to disable the safety, and most shooters do that. This gun itself has a disabled safety. Now, someone by the name of Steven took some issue with that, and he posted on my video. And he said that how can cowboy shooting clubs allow a gun where the safety is disabled? That is borderline criminal, very irresponsible of all involved. He goes on to say that this disabled safety on a gun is reckless and dangerous negligence, no matter how I try to spin it. And he further says that if you disable it mechanically, you're being negligent and dangerously so. Shows your lack of concern for the safety of those around you, all for a split second of your precious time. You're no sportsman in any way. So I wanted to kind of respond to this because it's actually that type of backwards thinking that makes people unsafe on the range. Because the responsibility of safety is not with the firearm, it's with the shooter. Any safety feature that's on this gun is meaningless, right? I have to operate it in a safe manner because it's a firearm. There's nothing that you can do to it other than, I guess, breaking it in two that makes it completely safe, right? It's not the responsibility of the gun to be safe. That is my responsibility. Now, on this particular safety, let's take a look at another gun. Again, I don't really use the Stoeger anymore. It's a backup gun now. I use this Browning BSS. It's much nicer. One of the things, it operates when I break the action open here. It resets the triggers, but it doesn't reset that safety. So what we're saying, or what Steven is saying, is that the Stoeger with the disabled safety, dangerous, but that the Browning that doesn't do that is safe. And I did clarify that in the post. I said, hey, this one doesn't do that. He's like, well, it was designed that way. What really is the difference when they operate functionally the same? And there isn't a difference, okay? What is this safety feature for? Well, it's not made for cowboy action. The thinking with this Stoeger is for like a duck hunting type scenario. I load, I lock, I move around. If I trip, I fall. Well, my safety on is going to prevent that gun from accidentally discharging. And they say about 99% of the time. Notice that's not 100%. Okay, it's for dropping the firearm while loaded to help it not go off. That's why it exists. Okay. Now, in cowboy action, if we move with this gun, and when we stage this gun, we stage it just like this. It's open and empty, right? Open and empty. If I'm gonna do a split shotgun where I shoot two, shuck, this is when I can move now, when it's open and empty. And I can move to the next area where I shoot and then load. We're not gonna move with shells in there. So that's one of the reasons that cowboy action is very safe. And I found Steven's comments about competitive shooting in general pretty disrespectful because Single Action Shooting Society and other shooting organizations, they put a lot of rules in place. They put a lot of redundant rules in place to make it safe for shooters and for spectators, right? Cowboy action's no different. Gun on the table like this ain't gonna hurt you, right? There's no way it can fire because it's not loaded. Okay. The only time that we could ever in cowboy drop the gun would be like when I'm firing, and the safety's not going to be on at that time anyway, right? Drop gun is also, if it's loaded, it's going to give you a DQ. Okay, you're not allowed to shoot anymore because that's an unsafe thing, and we blame you, not the gun. Okay, this safety, it's a safety feature. Lots of guns have different amounts and different kinds of safety features, but the responsibility of safety, it's always on the shooter, Think about my revolver. It doesn't have that safety, right? Is it unsafe? It's unsafe if I use it unsafely. It's not inherently safe or unsafe, right? But it's a gun. It has the potential to be unsafe. That's the whole point of it, right? Now, when my background, I guess, in competitive shooting, I've been doing now for about 35 years, which is kind of sad for me to say because one, makes me feel really old, but two, makes me think that I should have rose above mediocre by now, and I haven't, but that's okay. When I started shooting in the Boy Scouts, when I was 7, shooting bolt action 22s, which is a lot of fun, they taught us basically 2 rules. Day one, this is the thing that they said, number 1, every gun is loaded until you prove it otherwise, okay? So every gun, loaded until you prove it otherwise. When I open my gun locker or my gun safe, first thing I do is I check to see if it's loaded, okay? Number 1. When I go to put it away, last thing I do before I put it away, I check to see if it's loaded. Now, I do keep some guns loaded for various reasons in various different places. Cowboy guns are not one of them. They are sporting equipment. They don't need bullets in them when they're in the locker, okay? When I go and I take the gun out, I make sure it's empty. I put it in its case. I put it in the car. When I take it out of the car to put it in my gun cart, I look to make sure it's empty, and then I put it in the gun cart, right? That's rule number 1. Anytime you're coming up on a gun, it's loaded until you prove it otherwise. And number 2 is what a lot of people call booger finger, no bang switch. You never put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire. That's simple. Those are the 2 rules that really govern all the gun safety. Now, there is another kind of golden rule that you hear about a lot, that you never want to point the muzzle in an unsafe direction, and that you need to know what lies beyond your target. And that is a very good rule, and those are very important rules. I just kind of say those first 2, learn those ones first, and then that next one, you got to put your thinking cap on to figure all that stuff out. So approach it that it's loaded. Don't put your finger on the trigger, and then you can start thinking about where you're going to point the thing. Kind of in light of this, like I said, I didn't want to make this video just kind of pointing out, like, don't put the responsibility of safety on the gun. Like, that's how people get hurt. It's your responsibility. Take responsibility for firearm safety and firearms training. I'm going to put out a couple safety videos specific to Cowboy Action, because I do think how we stage, and we have 2 rules basically that we follow. One is a 7-part rule that's called the Magnificent 7, that actually encompasses everything I've said and a few more things, and some things that are particular to competitive shooting and Cowboy Action. I think it would be cool to look at those. And then something called the 170 rule, which is particular to how we do our range safety. And I'd like to go over that, because I know some shooters are confused by it when they first start out. So it's a good one just to go over, so everyone's on the same page. So again, Steven, I disagree with you. I think you should take a firearm safety course. And yeah, get out there and shoot.
Yeah, I'll go get a rock.